brought that sucker in. That got played 3 times that night. And John
it
got
livened the
tipped.
party. Like, seriously, I got tipped.
He got heavily tipped. And John was like, here, I need to give you some of this money. He's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's just like, I don't want any of this big and rich blood money that, I just had to sacrifice my life to do. It's like, I'm helping out a friend here. I don't want to be associated with this. Testing. 1, 2. We are testing for proper module. Oh, hey. Welcome to And Out Come the Opinions. It's a music talk podcast where we provide a unique mathematical equation for y'all. It's 3 dudes with infinite opinions equals 0 fucks. Once again, let's meet the 3 brothers of bad broadcasting. So we're going to start off stepping up to the mic. He's a producer, uber alles. When he gets the music, he's got a place to go, and that would be John.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Next up, to step up to the plate, he's the brainiac of the group and broadcasting demigod. He believes radio is a sound salvation, but he's not cleaning up the nation. It is Alan.
Welcome.
And finally, it is your MC, and MC does mean Minister of Chaos. They took me off the air because I talked trash to the corporate guys upstairs. It's me, B Money. Fellas, how we feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good. Oh, yeah. It's good to hear. I want to let you guys know, if you haven't been keeping track, we are 4 episodes in, and you guys haven't plotted to get rid of me yet, so I call that a major success. So I'm pretty happy about that. Mutiny has not occurred.
You're driving this RV, so it's all good.
Well, prepare for it to go right off the cliff. So. All right, so before we jump into the main topic, as always, we've got a little bit of some extra things that we talk. And I was thinking about this because, for me, this show is called Outcome the Opinions. And there is nothing that us opinionated music fans love more that riles us up is to talk about a list. I mean, we've seen top 50s, top 100s, best albums, all these other things. And I figured the best thing that we could do to get people riled up, especially the man all the way to the far left, Alan, is to talk about the top 50 best BritPop albums of all time. Now, when I talk about this, for me, I want a list that is not curated by 2 or 3 people. I don't need something that the tastemakers are saying. I want something that you get mass people talk about. And for me, Rate Your Music is the best place to find these lists. And you can find it for just about any genre that's out there. So I did a little bit of homework, and I gave everybody that's in this group a little bit of an assignment, is to look at the top 50 from Rate Your Music for BritPop. Now, we will not be doing this every week because then it is going to get really boring, especially when we start talking about acoustic folk and when we start talking about klezmer albums of the top 50. So this is something we'll do from time to time just to kind of spur discussion and things like that. And y'all at home can play too because, it's a fun game and we can all bitch and moan about whatever's on there. But I like the Rate Your Music because it's a solid list and it's done by a mass of people. So for me, being the mathematician and statistician, I love more than just a 3-point subset. I like a subset that's got 14,000 points. I want big numbers. I want averages. I want everything. And if I could, I would have done mean, medians, and standard deviations, but y'all don't need to be hearing that. So, all right. So I sent out the list to everybody. I've got my notes, but for this to be done with gusto and justice, Alan, please start us off on this.
Well, I got the message from Brad that we're going to talk about BritPop, and my first thought was like, am I being set up for something? Is he trying? Is this is this all part of some big master plan that he has? Because I love BritPop and I could speak about it all day. So I obviously feel like something is up. But I do agree with Brad. I do have my troubles with the rate your music. It kind of gets some hive mind stuff going on. I do complain about it because I like to complain. But Brad's not wrong on this. I do like that they put so much things together that you actually get a pretty interesting list. So if you're somebody that's like, hey, I want to listen to this genre, you'll actually find some interesting albums and not just the plain like, oh, of course these are the albums that we're gonna pick. So having said that, you want to might as well just get into it.
Well, I just want to say one thing. You said I was right. So if you didn't see the smug look on my face,
Maybe,
I know.
maybe John can edit that out later.
Don't you dare.
Anyway, best Britpop album, starting off with number one, Different Class by Pulp. Like, that has to be the number one Britpop album. Like, I can't see a list that doesn't have that at number one. That to me is the absolute album. And obviously the top 10 is filled with who you'd expect: Pulp, Oasis, Suede, Blur, Manic Street Preachers. Like, it's a pretty predictable top 10. I mean, it pretty much has to be, but that Pulp album, you've got to go with that. And I'm one of those, for me personally, like I've listened to that album so much, Different Class, that I actually probably at this point prefer the follow-up, This Is Hardcore, which is I always think of it as like Different Class is the party, This Is Hardcore is the hangover, and I kind of I kind of gravitate towards it some more now. But nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's just simply from listening it so much. But Different Class has got to be number one. So what do you think of the top 10, Brad?
So for me, it's what I would expect because, I think for me, 3 Suede albums in the top 10 was a little much. Now, Dogman Star is in there. I think the self-titled's in there as well. I'm really surprised Manic Street Preachers wasn't higher because there's something about Manics that I really like, because there's a little bit more of I almost feel like there's a little bit more dissension in the ranks with Manic Street Preachers. The one that I guess I'm not as familiar with is Manson. Manson not only was like number 10, but they also had another album at number 11. Yeah. So I'm not as familiar with Manson. So that one is the one that I was kind of like, maybe I need to go back and listen to it. But there's other albums that I think are kind of grossly underrated. Like there's some auteurs albums that are on the list, but seem a little bit low. And there's things that are on the list that I don't necessarily think belong on the list. And one of them is Elastica. And here's the reason why. To me, Elastica seems more like a band like Wire. That's what I get from Elastica. I don't get as much Britpop from them. I get more of like that angular new wave, the type of almost like a Gang of Four type of feel from Elastica. But I also think that Alaska album should have been higher if we're going to talk about this, because I love that album so much.
I'm gonna get to it. We'll get to Elastica.
I am surprised that Elastica isn't higher. So.
Yeah, I'm a big Suede fan. So obviously, I think Dogman Star is just a classic album. It's one of those that I think over the years has kind of been realized as their masterpiece. It is an album that broke up the band. They kept making it more and more orchestrated, which is actually kind of what I love about it, is there's so much orchestration to it. But I don't think that either Bernard Butler or Brett Anderson really loved it at the end of the day. I think they kind of wanted it to be wanted to make 3-minute songs. So maybe that's why coming up is your 3 to 5 minute songs. But interesting on this list, they add, if you go further down, pretty much all of the Suede albums, so the newer Suede albums. So those reunion albums are on here. Whether you want to count those on the best Britpop albums of all time, I guess it makes sense to include them. It is interesting. I did the math, and the first iteration of Suede the number of albums of the years they are together now matches the second Mark II of Suede, as far as they've done like, what is it, 5 albums I think now as a reunion. So and the time frame is the same. So which is kind of interesting. But I really haven't, as much of a big Suede fan as I am, I really haven't been a big fan of the reunion stuff. I found it, I haven't really been that inspired up until this last album that came out last year, Antidepressants, which finally they nail it. They finally nailed the sound. So,
but and if I'm thinking correctly, that was actually on a few top 50 lists for 2025. So,
yep.
Okay. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Hey,
I'm going to throw out a couple of stats here. So, the dates that are on this top 50, it's between 1994 and 1999. There's one outlier. Well, actually, there's two. Supergrass had an album came out in 2002, that was on the list. And then the latest one was a Noel Gallagher and High Flying Birds album that was released in 2011. So it's, I mean, you can see that it is a very tight time frame of, 5 years with some outliers that are in there. But I think some other ones that I saw on there, Echo Belly was on there. There's a couple of ones that I was a little bit, that I don't know much about. So like there's a band called Dodgy that's on there. I'm not very familiar with them. Animals That Swim was another one that was on there that I'm like, I have no clue. And then the Help compilation shows up at like number 42. And I thought that has like other like artists on that besides just BritPop. Like I thought Radiohead.
It's a great album. It's a really great album. I thought it was a nice ad. I mean, you're right. I'm looking at it. It's got Boo Radley's, Radiohead, Portishead, Stereo MCs, Sinead O'Connor's on there. So it is. I mean, it is. It's kind of a mix, but it's a great album. I don't know. I thought it was a good ad. It just goes kind of a high water mark for that time.
I mean, I don't mind it being a good ad. For me, I just feel like, first of all, we will get into a discussion later on down the road how I feel about compilations and greatest hits albums, especially greatest hits albums. I will talk about that until I'm blue in the face or red in the face, one of the two. But for me, we start writing these lines of genre and, should things belong? Should things not belong? And when you start looking up genres and rate your music, you can go down a pretty deep rabbit hole, and you can get lost in the sauce easily on some of this.
Yeah.
So
I actually really liked. I was really impressed. I was actually really impressed with it being a truly Britpop list, because to me, there's a lot of stuff that wasn't on here that casual fans would throw on there. So all of the stuff that came before pre Britpop, you had like the Grebo scene, you had like Ned's Atomic Dustbin, you had Carter Unstoppable Sex Machine, Jesus Jones, like that group's not here. There's not like a lot of the like Ride, like a lot of the shoegaze stuff isn't really on here because it's kind of not really Britpop. Although, I mean, Ride made some excellent albums, and they're further down. I saw they've included them way down the list, but and then like what they call it landfill indie now, but like the whole like that whole 2000 scene that was basically kind of the next wave of Britpop influenced bands, your Libertines and your Razorlight and all those bands. Like, so I thought they did a pretty good job here of actually focusing on as close as they could to what was Britpop. I think the one that I thought that didn't fit. I'm trying to think who is. I can't find it now. Oh, Spearmint at 38 was kind of more of, to me. They were a little bit more of like twee pop, and again, like there's no twee pop in here, no Bell and Sebastian. There's nothing like it's stuff like that not included in there. I did see, you had Morrissey at the time was kind of the big guy. I suppose you could have included him. You could have included Radiohead, but whether or not they're Britpop or not, I think this at least tried to stay true to Britpop. You mentioned the auteurs. You mentioned the auteurs earlier. I was just going to say, Now I'm a Cowboy is such a great album. And the album that came after that, after Murder Park, even has a higher rate your music. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. It was produced by Steve Albini. I wish if I was smarter, as active as social media that Steve Albini was, I should have at least at some point told him that was one of my favorite albums. I should have done that while he was still alive. I didn't expect him to pass away. But After Murder Park is a great album. Is it Britpop? Maybe, maybe not. And they didn't include it here. And maybe that was the right decision.
So 2 things. Number 1, all praise Albini. And then number 2, Morrissey was included on the list, but surprisingly enough, he didn't show up.
Hey, can I throw something in?
Yeah.
Hold on. John's got something on this. Go ahead. I apologize, John. We've been stepping on you because, like, Alan and I, here's what's funny. When you watch this video, Alan and I are talking back and forth, and John's kind of like this kid sitting at the table, like, I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I desperately need your guys' opinion on this. And this is, I meant to bring this up in a later episode because this is a bit of a tangent. But I am definitely bringing it up since Oasis is like 3 times in the top 10. The top 10 is basically Suede, Oasis, and
Blur,
and Pulp, right? And Blur. Yeah. Okay, so the reason this is a tangent, I have certain things in my life that I when I boycott it, I go deep. Like, and this it comes to the whole thing. Like, I've never spent $1 or 1 penny on a Nike product, and I never will. I abandoned Scott Adams like early. Like, he said something about being kind of pro corporate like in the 90s, and I was like, fuck that guy. I'm never reading his thing. And then, 25 years later, I was like, oh, I called it. Awesome. So Oasis is in there because Oasis in the early days of the internet sued that fan for copyright. And I was like, fuck these guys. I was like, you went after a fan?
Yeah,
fuck
I remember
you, fuck
John and I
music.
talked about that. This is before Lars and Napster. Like,
way before.
Yeah.
And the guy was putting together an Oasis fan page. And so even when stuff was like coming out that not only were the Gallagher brothers like assholes to everyone, they were assholes to each other, and then, broke up and didn't talk or whatever. And then, everybody makes a big deal. Okay. So just throwing that all out there. I know that one song. And I probably know, I probably know a few songs that I hear on the radio all the time, but can't identify. The question is, should I give Oasis a chance? Like, are they good albums?
Alan, I'm going to let you start.
Oh, you're going to let me start. They got some good songs. They're okay. Mm-hmm. They're one of those things. To me, they were the ones that were picked out and got more hype than anybody else. And I probably always held that against them because there are better bands out there. I'd rather you listen to the Auteurs or Gene or Echo Belly or whoever. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But hey, they got some good songs. I won't fault them that. They got some good songs. Now, maybe they should have broke up at some point. They probably carried on longer than they should. But that first album, it's pretty good. Second album is pretty good.
Because I've seen like certain clips of them like in the studio and them like tooling around on guitars, and I'd be like, wow, they do like good riffs. It's too bad that I fucking hate them. So Brad, should I get an Oasis album and give it a chance?
So okay, don't get an Oasis album. Mm-hmm. You've got Apple Music or something like that. Mm-hmm. You can listen to, like, I love Champagne Supernova. I mean, I might be the biggest black metal, death hardcore, sludge, whatever. damn it, if I hear Champagne Supernova, I'm like, okay, I can sit here and I can just close my eyes and just sway back and forth to Champagne Supernova. What's the story? Morning Glory's good. Don't Look Back in Anger is a good song. There's good songs by them. A full album, however, definitely Maybe's good. But like, if you really want the good stuff, different class, his or hers. This is hardcore. Those 3 albums by Pulp are fantastic. Blur Park Life, I love that album. Remind me again, the Blur album that's got the lady with the swim cap on, which one is that?
Yeah, what is that? Park Life? Is it Park Life?
No, Park Life. I thought Park Life was the one with the
dogs.
With the dogs.
Oh man, what is it?
I can see, this is what happens when you get 350 somethings that are that we've got so much on our.
And this is where I'll be like, I hate to say
Leisure.
it, but Leisure.
Leisure. There you go.
I hate to say this,
Leisure.
but Leisure. I'm sure it's Leisure. I kind of like the Gorillas more than, but that's a story for a different day. I like Gorillas more than Blur.
I like.
Anyway,
lot, so.
back to our top 50. I did want to mention, I was going through the list, and what was interesting to me, and what's interesting about Rate Your Music and just probably time in general is like, as things have evolved. I saw at number 15 was the album. Number 19. Sorry, number 19 was Pioneer Soundtracks by Jack, which came out in 1996. And what I thought was interesting about that is I remember getting that at college radio, a lot of hype about it, and I've probably never heard, like, it was kind of a dud album, I think, at least in the United States. I haven't probably even thought of that album in 30 years. And obviously the Rate Your Music crowd has glommed onto it. The follow-up to it's farther down the list as well. So just interesting how time changes things. I'd say the same way with, I'd say the same thing with Elastica. Elastic's at number 29. I feel like if this was done 20, 30 years ago, Elastica would be a top 10. I do think Elastica has suffered because people are like, well, it's Wire. And if I can listen to Wire, I'm not going to listen to Elastica. And I think their impact has kind of fallen off, which is a shame because it's a great album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a couple of other ones on here, like Kula Shaker on here at number 24. I like Tatva. I've never heard I Am Clute. And that's actually like a 2003 release.
Yeah. And I'm not sure they're quite BritPop, but whatever.
Yeah. And I think some of the other ones like Rialto, another one that I've never heard of, Silver Sun, the Spearmint one that you talked about, and even Charlatans. There's sometimes I feel like Charlatans they have a tendency of not being. I always feel like Charlatans kind of fall into the whole like Happy Mondays, Black Grape type of feel instead of being like like BritPop. There's some light, like when you go down even further, you hit like Blue Tones. Oh, Terry Hall at number 62. I was going to say that too.
That was the one that stuck out to me too. I don't even remember that Terry Hall album, but Terry Hall, obviously a guy from The Specials, Fun Boy 3. I wouldn't have considered him BritPop at all, and I don't even remember that album coming out necessarily. But yeah, he's on there. Something that I noticed just kind of bubbling out of the top 50, because you always had also too some of them that were tied to each other. So like Geneva at 51 was a band that Suede signed to their, so there was a Suede connection there. Marion 54, This World and Body is actually kind of a nice hidden gem of an album if you like Britpop. I like that. I found that like at a pawn shop or something and picked it up, and it's a really good album. Johnny Marr produced the follow-up album, kind of stiffed, but you get further down, there's some of the bands like Gay Dad were always a punchline. There's always the bands that were punchlines. Kula Shaker kind of became a punchline to a certain extent.
Menswear,
that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, Menswear as well they're further down the list.
So, but I mean, this has been kind of fun because, like, once again, there's some opinions here, and I've almost wanted to, like, I almost wanted to set that monster loose on Alan and just like watch him go to town, because like I said, when I said he's the brain trust, I'm not lying about this. Dude knows his shit. But we'll do this occasionally just to get, and we don't have to just get Alan riled up on this.
We'll get John riled up next.
There's got to be like a female fronted like Japanese thing going on that we can throw out there that John will be like, what the? He'll throw his hands up in anger and do all that. So good topic here. And for anybody that's interested, what we'll do is in the description, we'll put that top 50 so that you can do your own research, and then you can bitch at us that we don't know what we're talking about. So stay tuned, guys. Let's talk about our main topic here in just a moment. So our main topic going on is something that is actually near and dear to every single one of our hearts, and it is college radio and the college radio experience. I mean, this show would not exist had it not been for college radio. And we're talking about us meeting in college radio and getting to know a lot of different people. And I will tell you straight up, I've got more friends in college radio than I have in any other college thing that I've ever done. So like anybody that was in my major, anybody that did anything else, I don't talk to those folks. I talk to all of my college radio guys more than anything else. And we have a vast network of people, not only in college radio, but also like from the college TV show that John was involved in the station, that we always talk about. So for us, I don't want to wax poetic about this, but I mean, it's a part of my life that I look fondly back on. And I don't want to feel like this, like baseball player talking about my high school days and all that. But like, I mean, those were 4 years that kind of stay with me. So, for me, it was the memories and all that, but there was also a lot of life lessons and a lot of like things from it. Now, the thing with college radio to me is it's important on many different avenues. It was important for training people that were in radio and television or in journalism or broadcasting or anything along those lines. And it was important because of like exposure to the plethora of bands and musicians that were out there, and it just opens your eyes. But the one thing for me that stood out the most is that y'all were RT people or film or anything else. I was a chemistry and math major, and I got a chance to be on the radio and do something that I enjoyed. Did I make a career out of it? I didn't want to be poor. So that's why I stuck with.
If I had to do it all over,
you're the
again,
Milo. You're the Milo of the Milo Walker.
You know what? I'll take that. I was gonna go Greg Graffin, but I'll take
Greg
the Milo.
Graffin, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't have the advanced degree, but Milo went for biochemistry, and that's what I've got my degree in. So I guess for us, I'm up for talking about the glory days, what you guys took out of college radio, and what college radio means to you, back then, and what it means to you now. So I'm gonna actually mute my mic and let you guys talk.
Hey, let me lead on this because I think about this all the time. I'll just start with it was the 90s and things like that, and internet just getting started. And we keep saying this, but so I was in college radio, but we also had the music video shows as well. So it was they were all on the same floor. We tried to share resources and things like that. Having access to all of that music and being able to like find all of that music without having to like spend every last dollar that I had to go discover stuff. And that includes going to shows and meeting bands and hanging out with the bands and interviewing bands. When I graduated from college, like the next 10 years of my life purely sucked. Like, because of that, and no, we were very, very active in that. I got really used to like being able to go to a show and figuring out how to get backstage, slap this thing on, things like that. For like 10 years, like I would go to shows and try to wander backstage and, get pushed away by security and be like, but wait, I did. And I spent 10 years trying to figure out how to get back into that without, I didn't get a job I got jobs in TV, but no, I didn't get a job in radio. And, I still use those skills randomly. Like, okay, so with Bandmade, here's a secret. I've met Bandmade and I interviewed Bandmade using the skills that I learned from the radio and TV. What I did, I hired a Japanese translator and I sent out a random email. They randomly emailed me back. And I was like, I kid you not. I kid you not. I texted my translator at like 4:00 in the morning with help. And I was like, I don't know this woman. I hired her. She has every right to tell me to go get effed. Like, why are you texting me, strange man, at 4 a.m.? And luckily she came back to me and, she translated the thing. When my kid Jared was 6, we loved Puffy Amiyumi on the Cartoon Network. I got in touch with their New York label because they had released like a couple of things on the U.S. side. And I called them up and I got to a person. I go, hey, can you get me into the Chicago show? My kid would love to meet him. And he was like, I would love to, but they're not. They switched labels. They got kind of moved up, but we don't have anything to do with the store, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
So I throw that out every now and again, and I'm going to start getting into it this year. I have a friend. I've brought him up before. His name is Jim Curie. He's got a magazine called Be in the Loop, Chicago, and it's an online magazine. But he did what we did in college, and we went to college around the same time. He went to Western. And then, but when he got out, he just kept doing it as like a hobby. Like he's been trying to get paid for the past 25 years, and fortunately, no, that hasn't panned out for him. But I'm not exaggerating. That guy, any show that I want to see, and I mean any show, from underground hip hop to the most pop star thing humanly imaginable, I could go to him, but like the trade off is I have to work the show. Like I have to either cover it as a journalist or cover it like photo, and they need it for both. And of course the popular shows, you're fist fighting with other 6 photographers trying to get in, and what have you. But if it wasn't for that, like, and there's downsides, sometimes, don't meet your heroes, all that type of stuff applies.
True. Yeah.
But that is, like, I wouldn't, if it wasn't for that experience, we've said this before and probably say this, a million times again, like I can't understand people who just stop with music at the age of 20, and then Leonard, I hate throwing Leonard Skinner under the bus, but that guy just listens to Leonard Skinner for the rest of his life, and without, I'm a hypocrite. All I fucking listen to is Bandmade for the past 15 fucking years. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have the thirst for music that I do, and and keeping it up, what have you.
I was kind of go a similar way with you. Like we've talked about being a music obsessive, and I feel like that goes along with this. I have looked at some of our like like anybody, I'm on social media, and I'll see like an alumni has posted something like this past week. I had somebody post about Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then somebody we know posted about Dazzling Killman and Skin Graft Records, and like just all these things that all this variety of music. And for me, like as a music obsessive, there's only so many tastemakers, and like for a long time it was MTV, and you can't consume everything for 24/7. MTV had an agenda; they had to only play certain songs. Radio can only have so much time; they can only play so many songs. I know that you hear Anthony Fantano saying like I'm the busiest guy on the internet, and like he's trying to cover things. But even your Pitchforks, Consequence of Sound, all those places, there's only so much time to cover stuff. And what I liked about college radio that sticks out first of all is just the variety of talking to people, and you got people that knew different genres and knew deep into genres, and you don't get that. Like there's no way you can get that by listening to just one or two outlets. Like we were talking, I feel like we weren't talking too long ago about third wave ska, which is kind of making a comeback. And like I saw basically almost everybody. Brad, you may have seen everybody that was important in the third wave ska movement. But, nobody covers that. Nobody covers rockabilly. Nobody covers surf music. There's always going to be, that stuff's always going to be there. Nobody covers those genres unless you talk to somebody who loves those genres. And even if you think about like the stuff that's popular, like metal, if you read Spin Magazine, you look at Pitchfork, like it's always the big four. They've got room to cover Slayer. They've got room to talk about Metallica. Even more modern, like Boris is going to get a mention. Mastodon's going to get a mention. Sun's going to get a mention.
Lamb of God.
But there's no room to cover metal. They've only got a certain amount of time. They've only got a certain amount of space. Same goes with rap. Rap's popular, but it's the same. You look at the last 30 years. Who have they covered? It's Jay-Z. It's Lil Wayne. It's Kanye. It's and they've got room. The new Kendrick comes out, they'll review it. The new Tyler Creator comes out, they'll review it. But you just can't go deep. And that was the thing, is like talking to people who love music, you can go deep, and you don't get the tip of the iceberg, you get deep. And that's what I always enjoyed.
Brett, be money.
I was letting y'all talk because I can talk a blue streak about this. So for me, the college radio experience was a blessing and a detriment. And it was a blessing because I was able to get exposure to all of this music, and a detriment because I was blessed with all of this music that I wanted to buy. Like it was just like, it's like taking a junkie and putting them in like a flop house and just like, no, don't do the smack. It's all around you, but don't do the smack. I'm like, give it to me, mainline it. Let's do it. But like it opens up your eyes to everything. Cause like, when I came into IDB in 92, I was like, oh man, I love Ministry. I love industrial. And then he's like, heard Skinny Puppy? I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard Skinny Puppy. It's like, her Frontline Assembly? I'm like, oh yeah, I heard a little bit of Frontline Assembly. It's like, have you heard Dvorak? I'm like, what? Have you heard Test Department? I'm like, huh? And you're just like, have you heard Throbbing Gristle? I'm like, oh, I don't know shit. So then you're like, oh my God, I need to catch up. So then you're trying to catch up on this, and then you're falling into potholes of, Einstürzende Neubauten. And you're like, first of all, how do you pronounce this? Second of all, where can I get this? All you remember is you see a album cover with a horse with weird eyes and goo coming out of its. Never mind. So, you like, it opens up your eyes. Like, I will tell you, if it wasn't for college radio, I wouldn't be the rap impresario that I am. I have such a love for hip hop. And just as much as, we get covered on Kendrick and Drake and all these other things, I go so deep into everything. Like I thirst to find new stuff. Same thing with metal, same thing with punk and hardcore and all these things. So it really gives you almost this thirst to like find something new. And there will be another topic where we talk about why people are stagnant in what they listen to. And I have a couple of people in mind that I want to bring on that we can have this discussion with, because it boggles my mind that people can listen to the same 3 or 4 artists and be happy with it. So to me, that is one thing. The other thing that it does too is that after I left college radio and started like getting into like, working at labs or doing sales jobs or things like that, I still had that itch that I wanted to talk about it. And I found other outlets. I did community radio for a little bit. I did internet radio, which, sure. That when I was doing internet radio maybe 10 plus years ago, it was the Wild West and it was kind of crazy. I did go to another college radio. When I was in Amarillo, I worked at a college radio station there. And I will tell you, it was not the typical college radio station. Because they broadcast over FM radio, they were more focused on it being a true alternative radio station. So they played it extremely safe. Fair amount of Coldplay, fair amount of, other things that were on there that were dubbed alternative. I wanted to get on the radio, but I also wanted to do, that discovery. And I distinctly remember talking about the new Radiohead album that was in. That was in I want to say 2011, 2012. So I think it might have been like maybe in Rainbows or something like that. And I kind of got laughed at because they're like, oh, nobody listens to Radiohead. I'm like, yeah, maybe you normies don't listen to it, but that's something I listen to. So I've always been trying to chase that dragon of broadcasting and talking about like new music. And I even got to the point in time where I was doing some of the doing album reviews and doing some writing. And the problem was that means I have to sit down and I have to write. I'm so much better of a talker than I am a writer. I write enough reports and analysis in my days that I don't want to write. I want to talk. So having this as an outlet where we can talk about music and we can wax poetic about things all started from working at WIDB. And I will tell you that it is an absolute travesty that station is not it's not broadcasting anymore. Because I actually went in and I looked at a list of all the stations in the US that are still broadcasting college radio, and how a school that is so rich in radio television couldn't get it together to have a good college radio station is an absolute travesty.
I could talk 3 hours on this. I know.
It sickens me.
Because I was close, and I miss him dearly. I was close with a Morgan Grammer who spent a lot of time trying to save WIDB. I was there the day it literally blew up because there wasn't enough fans there and things like it. An IDB. Story
We got John
that IDB was supposed to be the reason community radio was alive and kicking in Carbondale, Illinois, was because IDB set that up, did all the research, paid all the money, and then
DBX.
DVX. So IDB was supposed to be DVX. The guy who owned 105.5 or 105.1 or something like that was friends with the president of the university, and he went out to dinner and asked for a favor, like, if you let IDB go to DVX, it's going to affect my bottom line. So he did him a solid and prevented IDV going to DVX. I've been salty about that my entire goddamn life.
Yeah, there's always going to be politics.
So always.
R.I.P. Morgan Grammer. He's not dead. It's just, we just missed him.
I was going
Hey.
to talk about happier times. I do think that having that huge catalog, and for me, we talked about rate your music, and for me it was always if I wanted to win a lottery, we always talk about what would you do if you ever had $1 million. Well, I would go to the Virgin Megastore or whatever the big go to the Tower Records and just buy the whole place. Like that was a dream, is just have like this huge catalog. And it was great because you'd read. I was a big Ramones fan, still am, and so I'd read about the CBGB groups. And I'd be like, oh, I never heard of the Flesh Tones. Let me listen to them, or let me listen to Tough Darts or Robert Gordon, and like all that stuff was there. And now, like, I feel like as I get to this age, I know some of my peers make fun of the kids these days, and they have all of their. But they're doing the same thing, and they're lucky. If you're growing up right now, you're lucky because you can basically listen to any album. If it's on Spotify, if it's on Apple, it's on YouTube, it's somewhere. It may even be, it's out there. And so I don't necessarily. I feel like when I hear like somebody at my age making fun of these kids, they're the kids, and all these kids always say vinyls. The people that have made that their personality of like, the people that made their personality making fun of kids, like, okay, you weren't just like them 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would rather much be like them than like you. So anyway,
I have.
Hold on. I feel targeted, by the way, because I am one of those ones that says, kids shouldn't be saying vinyls.
But it's not that big of a deal.
Kids shouldn't be saying vinyl.
It's
say
not
records,
that big of a
say
deal.
LPs.
Let it go.
Say wax. Say wax. Hey, I have 2 Chasing the Dragon stories. This is early 2000s. I bought some video equipment and I tried starting a video production company. And I was out filming taping random stuff, and I had hooked up with this underground. I kind of hooked up with these underground rap kids, and I was filming them, doing shows and things like that. There were a couple of them, can't remember their names. They were students at the University of Chicago. And at the very top at the student center, there's a radio station up there, college radio station up there. And it's one of those things where it's one of those things where the radio station was like, if you were to put a college radio station in a movie, this would be it, because you had to go down like weird hallways and things like that. And then inside of it, it was like, I don't say ID being crack. Like it had like 4 times the amount of music and things like that. And I just sat there in awe. And like Chasing the Dragon, like I found myself going back to the University of Chicago Student Center to try to find these 2 kids and find these 2 kids so they could take me up to the radio station again. And I was at the student center and I'm going, I'm not a student. I'm 10 years older than everybody is. I need to get out of here. And then the second thing, the high school my kid went to had an honest to God radio station, an FM signal that covered the town, the town that the high school was in. Broadcast 24/7. And so I go with him to orientation, and we're going through, and they have like a little like radio TV thing to kids they had that like a television section, and they had this radio station, and I was like, and then I tried to force my kid into the radio station so I could live vicariously to him, because I'm throwing all of these questions. I was like, hey, do you need a volunteer? Do you need this? And you could see the teacher was like, oh no. Parent coming in hot. oh, geez. And I was like almost to the police, like, please let me turn a knob, please. And then, I punished the kid because he didn't get into radio. So that was not really. But.
It is sad because I do think that like those opportunities are going away. Like the college radios, like I know the college radio is on the downhill, and Des Moines had a high school radio station same way, and like you said, sometimes it was very safe. Sometimes it's very just top 40. Occasionally, I turn it on here like Benjamin Booker. I'm like, wow, this is okay. Or they had like an international radio, like they had an international program where they would just play like it was obviously like they would maybe Eastern European student heritage. They would be like, okay, here's stuff I listen to, and it'd just be the most fascinating stuff. Like, where do you get that kind of stuff? And I realize like we talk about radio, we know that like. Do people listen to radio? Or they moved to streaming? Have they moved to satellite radio? Is radio still a thing? But like, there's so much you could learn. It's the communications, right? Like it's, I didn't end up going into communications, but I went into management, and that's still like, you've got to communicate. Like there's not a job. If you're going to be good at business, you're going to be good at a job, you're going to have to communicate. And that's like, how do you pick that stuff up? Radio is a good way.
And I mean, when we talk about the communication, Alan's done management, John's done a lot of stuff with the freelancing. I'm in sales. Like I talk all the time. And granted, it's sales, like it is a very technical type of sales. I still have to communicate. I still have to be an effective speaker. And I think that's one of the things about college radio. It teaches you about broadcasting. But the other thing that it does is it teaches you about being able to command an audience. And for me, one of the things that I always did, and it's a technique that I still kind of do, is whenever I would broadcast, there would always be that mirror behind, or the window behind you, because you could talk to the other people in the booth. So what I would do is I would shut that light off, and it'd almost be like this mirror effect. And you could look at it and you're talking to yourself. And you're looking at your mannerisms, you're talking about things, and you learn how to communicate effectively just by talking to yourself. I don't know what that says about me. I think it says I'm a narcissist and all that, but that's something I can talk with my therapist about next week, and we're all good with that. But
I think there's a Greek.
It is something that I think is lost in this generation, is that not everybody is an effective communicator. And I think a lot of it has to do with knowing the audience. I mean, don't get me wrong. The music that I played was not for the audience. The music I played was more for me. I don't care. But getting a message across, it's trying to speak effectively to the people that are there. College radio does teach you that in a roundabout way, but also it also teaches you about management. It teaches you about sales, and teaches you about marketing. It teaches you about a lot of different things. So if you're ever business minded, radio is a way to do it. Now, granted, radio is kind of starting to die, especially when it's terrestrial broadcast radio, but there's still a forum for it that I think is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah. One thing I thought of too is we would do the remotes where we would go somewhere and set up and play music. And I know for me, like at the time, I probably hated it. I probably didn't want to get up at like 9:00 on a Saturday when I was in college to set up and play music for the quad or whatever. Like I probably didn't want to do that. But those were some of the most enjoyable experiences. Some of the most memorable experiences was doing anytime we did anything within the community. And I think about that now as I'm older. It's kind of like volunteering. And I don't know if people volunteer as much anymore, but I can think of times in my life when I volunteered, and I'm always really fulfilled by that. Or they're just like Habitat for Humanity, if it's like neighborhood cleanup, if it's church group, it's kind of a reminder of volunteering. Yeah, it's good for you. You connect with people, and you feel good afterwards.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because with what we do, like I said, I know this is going to sound crazy. Don't freak out, folks. Yeah, I'm involved in a church group. I go to church on Sunday every week. In fact, I actually am okay. Y'all just need to hold on to your pants for this one. I'm a counseling minister. And I just saw everybody's face just melt. Okay, that's another story I'll come about. But like, it's the ability to communicate effectively, and I'll go back to it again and again. College radio does that, and one of the things, and it's that, and I was the same way. I hated remotes because, well, I mean, initially I hate people, but which is crazy because I love sales. I mean, it shouldn't fit, but it does. So when you have the college radio experience and you do these remotes and you start meeting people, and yeah, you'll get a couple of jerks that'll go up there and be like, oh, you ought to play this. I'm like, okay, calm down. It's all good. But you'll get some people that like really enjoy the music. And I'll pass it to John in a second because it goes into the wedding DJ stuff that you were doing for a while that I'll get to that in a second because I always felt that was great. But one of the things that I absolutely love is, so the company that I work for, we're a vendor for a pretty large corporation, and we're embedded into an account. So they have a charity kickball tournament every year. And the first year that they did it, we hired a DJ to play music and do the announcements. And I sat there and I watched the guy do it. And I'm like, I can do better. So the next year, I didn't hire the DJ and everything else. So the second year, I hired the DJ. And I told the DJ, I said, listen, I want you to play the music. I will do some of the stuff about getting some walk-up songs and everything else. Give me the mic. I want the mic. I will do this. So I did it for the second year. Probably the worst thing you could ever do is give me a live mic at an event and let me start talking to people. Because the second year, I'd go up to people and just kind of interview them during the thing and say, all right, so what are your plans for this and all that. Third year comes around, I start doing research about who's playing and start like researching where they went to school, what their hobbies are and all that. So then I start announcing while we're doing it. And I can tell you, we've been doing it for 5 years. Everybody remembers me as the guy that's the announcer for the kickball games. And I get that every year. Like everybody from a plant manager all the way down to like a first year tech engineer loves what we do. And it scratches that itch. The problem is that itch is only scratched once a year. But it's those type of things that, like, when you are in college radio and you're doing these announcing things, some people don't have that ability to get on the mic and just talk. And sometimes it's almost like, even with this, press a button and like, I'm in a different world, and it feels good. It's a different, like in some jobs you get this different part of satisfaction, but with this, there's a satisfaction that just can't be beat, that you can just talk to people and connect and enjoy what we're doing. It is exhilarating, to say the least. So John, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead and.
So when it comes to that, like being on the mic, and I worked for a wedding DJ for a bunch of years. I just wanted to share this horror story. And the thing is, like I didn't have I didn't have any like real opinion on like music and things like that. Like when you're hired as a DJ, that type of DJ, you're trying to make the party as fun as possible. You want them to choose their music and things like that. And you're not really, I think I played Slipknot one time, and it was at a it was like a special request at like a high school function and things like that. And I was half sick. Like I played 3 songs. I ran to the bathroom, threw up, and came back. And she was like, "Can you do this for me?" I was like, "I'll do whatever you want." And things like that. And so it was an 8-year-old's birthday party. I think all these kids were like in 2nd grade. And no, when this like gymnasium, and the kids are loud. So the kids are loud, and they're all on like they're all on the court, and then way against the back wall, all the parents are there, and they're just everyone's being loud. They're talking. Everyone's having a good time. Little 8-year-old black girl comes up and in the sweetest voice possible, she was like, "Can you play Hotel by R. Kelly?" And I was like, "Sure, honey, I'll get right on that." I didn't play that song. The song "Roses" by AOCTO. I'd listened to that so much on the radio, I had forgotten that there was an uncensored version of it. And I started playing the uncensored version. And because they have, the guy that I worked for didn't categorize things all that well. So, and I'm sitting there and I'm playing the song. And then just out of the blue, like in the back of my head, they're like, it just hit me. He's like, "Is there an uncensored version of the song? Did I hear an uncensored version?" And I looked at what I'm playing, and it's the uncensored version. And like on the radio, they say "poo poo." Mm-hmm. The uncensored version says "shit." So that's coming at me like a freaking freight train, and I was like, if I switch in the middle of the song, people are gonna notice. If I hit a horn or something, try to do a DJ thing, they're gonna notice. And it's coming, and there was nothing I could do. I was just like, I was frozen. I was like, there's gonna be a parent, and they're gonna kill me, and I deserve it. So I messed with a little bit, like the sound. Everyone was so loud, and not one parent noticed. Like no one gave an F. Because they were already, they were drinking back there, and that went right on by, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
I got to tell you the one thing, I got to witness John at his height of
that's
of
right.
wedding DJ. So I was in Chicago for the weekend. I was up there for something, and we were at this thing, and it was just a typical wedding, and somebody requested, and I'll never forget this. They requested "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy" by Big and Rich.
I knew this was, for some reason, I knew this was going to be Big and Rich.
Yeah, okay. it has to be.
Okay.
So
this is, please tell this, but I need to interject because that experience connects all of us. And like, I've never had a chance to tell either of you how this got connected. But go ahead, Fred. That's
okay. So John's like, "That just came out like a month ago. I don't have that." And I look at John, I'll be like, "Hey, I'll be right back." So I ran to the Walmart that was close by.
He saved the day.
Bought the CD single of Big and Rich, "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy." Brought that sucker in. That got played 3 times that night. And John got
livened
tipped.
the party. Like seriously, I got tipped.
He got heavily tipped. And John was like, "Here, I need to give you some of this money." He's like, "No, you don't. No, you don't." It's just like, I don't want any of this Big and Rich blood money that I just had to sacrifice my life to do. It's like I'm helping out a friend here. I don't want to be associated with this. But like, I remember that vividly because like 2 things happened. Number 1 was Big and Rich. The other one is doing Godiva white chocolate shots with you while we're behind the thing, and just like,
exactly.
It's like we are so bougie when we were doing this. But like that was so much fun to do that, because like that's not my gig, but what's even better is watching everybody react to it. And sometimes, as much as we are music obsessives, sometimes the entertainment factor is far more important than than us getting to hear what we want to hear. So, John, I'll throw it back to you on this.
Okay, because I quote unquote became like a fan of Big and Rich because I was fascinated. I was fascinated by like the two guys. Like the thing that I liked about them was like the two unlikely friends that became friends and blah blah blah. And it was because of the experience with Brad. So I go visit Alan, and we're standing in a Steak and Shake parking lot, and I was like, I can't wait to tell Alan that I'm a Big and Rich fan to see if he'll eviscerate me with a fork. And yeah, and it was, I was like, man, I really like that Big and Rich, and Alan was like, no, what is wrong with you? And by the way, I don't really like Big and Rich. So I like 3 songs of theirs. There's a song where they sing about I don't know, horses or something that I like, but that was really about it.
I will say this: don't get it wrong. After Big and Rich, he did start following like Florida Georgia line. So there's that. And John, you liked 3 more songs of Big and Rich than I did, so that's all right. But once again, it's all performative. Sometimes you have to play the songs that the crowds are going to enjoy. And for me in college radio, sometimes you had to do that. And I will tell you that like in the 4 years that I did WIDB, there was a lot of music that I kind of, crapped on. I mean, I crapped on Liz Phair. I crapped on all that BritPop stuff because I thought I'm metal, I'm hardcore. As you get older and you move on, you realize that some of that music is phenomenal. We go back to the BritPop thing. I can tell you that like I didn't give a crap about common people, but I'll tell you what, it's one of the best BritPop's albums I ever heard. Like I still look back at some of the stuff that we played. Like I love PJ Harvey, and I love Dry, and I loved I love Dry, and I loved Rid of Me. And people were like, oh, Rid of Me sucks. And it's like, and then people loved 4-track demos. And then when they came out with To Bring You My Love, I'm like, oh, this is awful. Like, what in the hell is going on? And it's like, Flood ruined this album. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm like, okay, this is a great album. What are we talking about here? So I think after a while, there's music that you hear that was on college radio that you're just like, man, this sucks. But like you get a point in time where you grow up and you're just like, oh, okay, I get it. Even when it comes to like, I remember distinctly, I fought tooth and nail over the Quicksand Manic Compression album. I was telling people, I was like, this is the best album out there and everything else like that. I go back and look at it. It's a good album. It's no Slip. It is no Slip whatsoever, because Slip is a masterpiece. But at the time, I like, this is what I'm going to hang my head on, or hang my hat on, I should say. But, I think that's where a lot of this comes from, experience. Because, when you're in college radio, you're listening to a lot of different things, and you get a feel of what's there, but sometimes you don't appreciate it as much until you look back on it and get that, almost that feel that's there. Mm-hmm. Well, I think with what we're talking about here, there is a lot of information that we can talk about on college radio. And I think we'll all agree that we could probably talk for 5 hours, but none of y'all want to stick around for 5 hours on this. So here's what we'll do. We're going to put a pin in this conversation. We will revisit this time and time again. We've got a lot of topics that will come up with this, and it's something that is really passionate and true to our hearts. So I appreciate everybody listening and staying with us on this. Coming up, we'll talk about what we've been listening to. Stay tuned. All right. And now the time that everybody loves, especially us, especially with learning new music. What are we listening to for the week? So, if you're not familiar with this, we listen to a lot of music in our times, and we've talked about where we listen to music, how we listen to music, and everything else. But we always have this desire to find new music or even revisit stuff that we've liked. So we have the segment at the end, which is what are we listening to? So, John, I'm going to let you start off first.
Alrighty. So I have two things this week. The first one. There's this band, I think they're out of California. All their music videos are, in palm trees, so I'm taking a guess there. The band's called War on Betty. They only, as far as I can tell, they only have an EP out, and these are 4 songs. I found them through the YouTube algorithm. This song, it's called Bump, and it's real heavy, it's real fast. And they're a heavy metalish metalcore type band, but they do mix it up. They do mix it up a little bit, mix it up a little bit with the music. And I really, really, really enjoy this EP. And I'm hoping that they put out more music, or at least do a tour where I can, because I don't think they've done a tour yet. And this came through the YouTube. All my stuff comes through the YouTube algorithm. This came through the algorithm. They were Bump, and I listened to Bump like 100 times. And then they did a 4-song EP, and they did music videos for all 4 songs. So it was easy to find them. The second band is a band. So when we're talking about the dying, the dying radio. As much crap, I'm going to give it like a Sirius XM. I was paying for Sirius XM, God, for at least 4 or 5 years. It was just one of those things I just kept in the car and just kept paying for it. And I always listened to the liquid metal station. And Johnny Booth was one of the things that Jose Mangan loved. And it is a crime to me that Johnny Booth isn't as big as Knocked Loose, because I love all of their music. I'm not taking good notes, but the album they just put out, and I can't think of the album right now, but they put out an album in 2023, and it was a fantastic, heavy. I'm gonna call them metalcore, and it's heavy and it's great, and I can't stop listening to them. And they just came through, and I missed them. I was trying to get some backstage patches because I wanted to go tell them, like, why aren't you guys ruling the world? Your music is awesome, but that's it. So that's who I'm listening to this week.
All right, that works good. And I was doing a little bit of research while we're talking. The album is called Moments Elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that's the one from 2023. And side note, when I went to Furnace Fest this year, they actually played at Furnace
Did you see
Fest.
him? Did you see him?
That was on Sunday. That was the day that was forbidden for me to go to because of Knocked Loose and all the heaviness that's there.
Oh yeah.
Talk to my wife about that one. So if we went to that show, I probably would be single. So, Alan, what you got for us this week?
All right. Well, I know we've just started a new year and all the new releases are going to come out. So I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to talk about the old 97s. So I'm going to take my chance now. And I absolutely love the old 97s. They're one of my favorite bands. They are a band that came out like in the mid 90s. If you want to talk about genres, I'm trying to give the most simple explanation is you had the Americana genre, I guess you could call it, when Uncle Tupelo broke up. Then you had Wilco and Sunvolt. You had the Jayhawks kind of around that time. A little bit later, you had Drive-By Truckers. Jason Isbell, I'm probably pronounced his name wrong, came out a little bit later. And like that whole scene, and I'm simplifying, but you had, even your Springsteens and your Steve Earles and your Lucinda Williams and Emmylou Harris, John Pryatt, John Prine, John Hyatt, all those guys making a genre basically out of nothing. And Old 97s really didn't get a lot of publicity at the time, but they made one great album after another, and they just toured nonstop. And now looking back 30 some years later, like they're one of the most respected Americana bands, and they're just a great band. Last year, they didn't put out an album last year, but the two members put out solo albums. So I want to talk about Rhett Miller's album. He's their lead singer. He, interestingly enough, has made a solo career that has kind of ran parallel with the band, and it's hard to think of like a lead singer having a solo career while the band is also still active. And he's done it in a way that I feel like they feel like two separate things. Like his solo career still feels different than the Old 97s. And I'm also really impressed the Old 97s have stayed together. They're one of those bands that it's the same lineup. And I also feel like everybody's important. And I hate to do the REM comparison, but I feel like you wouldn't have the Old 97s without Rhett Miller. And like you have Ken Bethet's kind of like the Peter Buck. Like he's just a tremendous guitarist. Nobody talks about him. You've got Murray Hammond, the bassist, like Mike Mills has like a beautiful voice, a beautiful sense of melody. You've got a great drummer. And so like Old 97's a great band. Rhett Miller put out an album called A Lifetime of Writing by Night last year. And it's I think he had some issues with his throat. I don't know if he had surgery or not, but he had some issues with his throat. And so the album, you can tell, is somewhat affected by that. It's a very intimate album. Sounds personal. It sounds like he's speaking to a girlfriend or an ex, and it's a very intimate album. And if you're a Rhett Miller fan, definitely check that out. But more importantly than that, this was not what I was expecting to say, but Murray Hammond put out a solo album. And he put out a solo album years and years ago, but he hasn't really put out a solo album for a while. He usually gets a couple of songs every Old 97's album or so. He has 2 songs or so that he sings lead vocals on. He put out an album that is on the Fluff and Gravy Records label, which is a weird name for a weird title for a label, but they actually do a lot of good stuff. He put out an album last year, and I didn't expect to like it, or I didn't expect to like it, I guess, as much as I do, but it's called Trail Songs of the Deep, and I gave it a couple listens, kind of was like, that's okay, and then every listen afterwards, I just fell more and more in love with it. It is, if you know Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs by Marty Robbins, you're probably familiar with that. It's like a pink and black cover, and it's got Big Iron, it's got El Paso. Like everybody knows that album, right? And you're like, how could that album be any better than what it is? Well, that album was recorded in 1959, and so Murray Hammond, realizing that Marty Robbins, when he was recording that album, never got to listen to the Beatles because the Beatles weren't around yet. He never got to watch any Sergio Leone films, right? Because those predate, those came in the 60s. It's almost like he took all those influences and put it into that album, which is just, it's like I don't even know how you can compare it. I mean, it's kind of, maybe you can compare a little bit to Calexico or Giant Sand, maybe a little bit, but it's like a country noir. And it's just a brilliant album. It's just one of those albums that's going to be hard. You're thinking like, this guy's a bassist. He's not even the lead singer of a band. Well, who's going to care about his solo album? But it is a really fun album. So if you like the idea of country noir, if you kind of like the idea of that classic country, but a little bit of that 60s pop, there's the opening song is called 310 to Liverpool. So that's give you some idea. It's instrumental, but that kind of gives you the insight. But great album. Check that out.
I will tell you that you had me at country noir, And that Marty Robbins album is so damn good. Oh my God. Like, I am not a country guy, but that album is so much fun. And when you said Giant Sand and Calexico, I mean, you had me right there. Like, I can even see like a 16 horsepower going through there as well. Yeah, 100%. I'm of the things that you have recommended so far. I will tell you that the Murray Hammond might be the one that I'm going to rush out and listen to.
I did turn on a friend to it. One thing he pointed out, there's a lot of whistling on the album. So if you have a problem with whistling, but I kind of that Marty Robbins kind of feel that late 50s country feel, like, yeah, you're going to have some whistling. That's part of it.
Well, as long as it's not like the Peter, Bjorn, and John whistling that you would get. I mean, that annoyed the piss out of me. Come on. All right. Well,
I will have to say
now it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I will have to say I like the old 97s specifically because you introduced them to me, Alan, and I feel like I've seen them a few times because of you as well. I think we saw them in Carbondale a couple times. And I don't know if I'm making up memories in my head. I feel
you
like
might be making up memories,
Chicago.
but they're
Didn't we see them at the Copper Dragon? Didn't we see them at the Copper Dragon?
You might be thinking of BR 549, which is kind of similar.
Well, there's that. I thought old 97s played at Copper Dragon. I mean, okay, we're going to do our research on that one. We'll find out.
Yeah. I will.
I will say I have seen them live a couple of times. They are a great live show. They are very fun, very good band. And they usually have, like, I know one time I saw them, Lily Hyatt opened up. Like, they always have an opening act that's worth checking out as well. So that's always a plus. Vandaliers open for them last time I saw them. So.
Oh, wow. Cool. Sorry, Brett. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's no problem. See, this is the thing. When we get all of us together, we want to just, like, talk so much about music that it just, like, we get excited about it. So does it make for good radio or a good podcast?
You have to.
Yes. Come on. What are you talking about here? All right. Well, you know me, I'm going to go against the grain on everybody. So I've got two. So there was a debut album by this group called By Storm. The album's called My Ghost Go Ghost. So they come from the ashes of a band called Injury Reserve. So it was a trio that was out of Arizona. And they released a couple of albums called By the Time I Get to Phoenix and all of that. One of the members passed away, and they really didn't do anything for a while because of all of that, and they didn't really want to go out as Injury Reserve. So they formed this band called By Storm. It is improvisation throughout. It is more spoken word than it is true rap. It is psychedelic. It is very off the wall type of things that are there. The problem that I have with some of it, and I was really, because I liked Injury Reserve, what I found was that the vocals were very overmodulated. So the first song that they put out, and I hate to say this, but it sounded like, if you ever watched that auto-tune clip from the show Intervention, where it talks about, but I'll still love you, and the guy goes, and they auto-tune it. It kind of sounds like that. After that, though, it really gets rooted into some like abstract lyricism, a lot of free form, just like spoken word things. And there's these psychedelic beats. There's like distorted like acoustic guitars. And it's a nice sonic tapestry that gets in there. It took me about 5 listens. So like when we talk about the listen to an album 3 times and you can get an opinion, this took me 5. And it got to the point in time where the 5th one, I'm like, okay, now I see how this is going. But it is very, very unique. And the improvisation just bounces so well off of it. So that album's called By Storm, or the artist is By Storm, and the album's called My Ghost Go Ghost. So the second one, this should be no stranger to anybody that's on this podcast and this panel. Converge put a new album out, so I had to listen to it. The album is called Love Is Not Enough. It's their 11th album. if anybody knows me, I am a die-hard Converge fan. I love this band to the moon and back. They put, basically, I want to say that they are legendary. They revolutionized what metalcore is by just one album. And that album is Jane Doe. Jane Doe is by far one of the best metalcore albums of all time, one of the best metal albums of all time. Dare I say one of the best albums of all time. It's a lot of hyperbole thrown out there, but it is basically, it transcends everything that's there. They haven't released a proper album in 9 years. They've done some stuff with Chelsea Wolfe. And if you know Chelsea Wolfe, very gothic singer. I love her to death. But the album, to me, felt a little flat. And it didn't seem like it really showcased both artists. The album's called Blood Moon 1, if you ever want to check it out. It's a good album, but it's not something that I was really into. But this one, Love Is Not Enough, is a full departure from it. It is ferocious. It is angry. It is emotional. And it's quick. It clocks in at 31 minutes. But here's the deal. Don't expect Jane Doe. This is not as chaotic as Jane Doe was, and it's not as violent. There are times where it gets really erratic, where it gets extremely angular, but it is not this juggernaut of chaos that goes through. To me, it's the best album that they've done since Axe to Fall. It is emotional mayhem at its best. A lot of variety. There's a couple of instrumentals that are in there. There's a little bit of some clean vocals that Kurt Ballou does, Jacob Bannon does. But the whole band, Ben Collar, Jacob Bannon, it's that same Converge feel. And there's almost this urgency to this album. And it's a great album. And if you're a fan of metal, if you're a fan of hardcore, if you're a fan of punk, if you're a fan of listening to me talk, go listen to this album. It's outstanding. So,
if I could throw a couple of things in there, two things. The Converge album is on number 2 of the top albums of 2026 on the Rate Your Music site, and I feel like on February 13th, everyone and their mother released new music for some type of Valentine's Day thing, like along with Converge. Like my YouTube is filled up with like a whole bunch of industrial people, but not industrial, but I think Cleopatra did something like the Birthday Massacre, but a whole bunch of goth people put out new music. It was. I found it very interesting. Like they were like, not only is it Friday the 13th, we're gonna make Friday the 13th a love thing. So I thought that was funny.
That was, I mean. It was an unusually large list of music that came out on that day. But I mean, I don't want to be that predictable guy, but if there's a Converge album coming out, I'm gonna listen to it. Come on, that's what we do here. So, all right. So if anybody doesn't have anything else, we're gonna close this out. So for like, share, and subscribe. And then what we'll do is everything that we talk about, as always, we'll put links in the description for you to check it out. Bandcamps, anything else that we can. Go support your local artists. Go support these artists that are doing what they're doing. They might not need your money, but you can always have something enjoyable there. So for Alan, John, and myself, stay happy, stay healthy, stay opinionated. See ya, bitches.